Welcome to HD Rare Coins, your ultimate source for rare coins, fascinating history, and the thrill of discovery. From legendary pennies to hidden gems, we explore the world of numismatics one amazing coin at a time. In the bustling heart of America's economic engine, amidst the silent clinking of coins exchanged for morning coffee or slipped into vending machines, one tiny piece of metal began to stand out. It wasn't gold or silver, nor did it shine more than any other. But it held a secret, a story, a rarity that would quietly ripple through the world of numismatics, the 1999 Roosevelt Dime. At first glance, it was ordinary. A dime like any other. Small, almost insignificant in the pockets of a rushing commuter or beneath the dusty cushions of a forgotten sofa. But beneath its modest surface lay decades of history, art, economics, and the hidden signature of a minting mystery that would one day draw the attention of collectors across the globe. To understand this dime, we must journey far back, to the very soul of the Roosevelt series, where a nation still reeling from the loss of a beloved president decided to commemorate his legacy with something simple, everyday, and enduring. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, a man who carried a nation through its darkest economic despair and wartime uncertainty, left behind more than policy and speeches. He left behind courage, strength, and a face that would come to symbolize both. And it was this face that would replace the Mercury dime's winged Liberty head in 1946, 1 year after his death. The Roosevelt dime was born not just from tradition, but as a testament to a national effort, and homage to a man who championed the March of Dimes campaign, whose name became intertwined with the very coin it would one day appear on. Fast forward to the final years of the 20th century. The year was 1999. The world buzzed with Y2K fears, dot-com dreams, and a millennium fever that crackled through every television, newspaper, and stock ticker. And amid that chaos, in the bustling Philadelphia Mint, a batch of dimes rolled off the presses, unnoticed by the millions, yet destined to become legendary. Each bore the P mint mark, denoting its origin. Each was struck from a clad composition of copper and nickel, a far cry from the silver ancestors that predated 1965. Yet some held flaws, peculiarities, or near-perfect conditions so rare that they would spark debates among collectors, provoke bidding wars at auctions, and sit in velvet-lined cases under the soft glow of museum lights. But it wasn't just condition that drew the curious. It was the unexpected. The double die errors. The off-center strikes. The mysterious full torch details. For while the Roosevelt dime is perhaps the most overlooked of U.S. coinage, its very size and value often making it the least respected, it is also the most deceptive. For tucked inside its 17.91 mm diameter is a minefield of variants and oddities that can transform 10 cents into $10,000. The Philadelphia Mint in 1999 was a well-oiled machine, churning out coins with stunning precision. And yet, no mint is immune to the occasional mistake. And when it comes to coin collecting, mistakes are gold. In this case, the rumors began to swirl about full-band dimes, a nickname given to coins where the horizontal bands on the torch's shaft on the reverse were struck so clearly and sharply that every detail could be discerned. Collectors consider full-band examples as the apex of Roosevelt dime collecting, often commanding high premiums, especially in near-perfect MS-68 or MS-69 condition. There was also another mystery. A quiet whisper among collectors that some 1999 P dimes showed faint doubling on the inscriptions or design, potential double die errors. These anomalies, while rare, set the community ablaze. Was it widespread? Was it confirmed? The hunt was on. Numismatists, both seasoned and novice, turned over change, squinted under loupes, sent rolls to third-party graders, desperate for a glimpse of that doubling, a spark of rarity amidst the mundane. Meanwhile, others turned their attention to the coin's surface. Luster, contact marks, strike sharpness, each a clue in the detective game of grading. A pristine example, graded MS-68 with full bands, struck with such clarity it looked freshly minted, could easily command hundreds, even thousands. But condition was everything. And the number of such coins in circulation was depressingly small. After all, who saves a dime? Who stares at it long enough to notice the tiny miracle it might be? the coin's obverse bore Roosevelt's familiar profile, gazing confidently to the left, the word liberty to his left and the iconic, "In God We Trust," tucked beneath his chin. The date, 1999, sat clearly to the right, with the mint mark, P, nestled near his neck. The reverse, a triumphant trio, a torch, flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. Below them, the inscription, United States of America, and the denomination, 1 dime. The words, E pluribus unum, out of many, one, wrapped around the central image, a quiet echo of unity in metal. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 1.4 billion Roosevelt Dimes that year. A staggering number. But of those, only a tiny fraction would ever escape the grasp of wear, damage, or forgetfulness. And even fewer would possess the precision, the accident, or the rarity to make them valuable. For coin collectors, rarity is not always about mintage, it is about survival, condition, and anomalies. A coin could have been minted by the hundreds of millions, but if only a handful remain in uncirculated, error-free, or error-prone condition, then its value skyrockets. As the decades passed, awareness grew. Grading companies like PCGS and NGC began receiving more and more 1999 P dimes for evaluation. Some came back with high grades. Some came back with surprises. And those surprises became stories. Stories of collectors finding gems in old coin jars, estate sales, or inherited rolls. A man in Ohio who discovered a pristine full-band dime while sorting through his late grandfather's collection. A teenager in Florida who found a near-perfect example in a Coinstar reject tray. A retired teacher who spotted a slight doubling under a microscope and later sold the dime for over $2,000. Each discovery added to the mythos. Each sale pushed the ceiling higher. And somewhere in the depths of eBay, auction houses, and collector forums, the legend of the 1999 P dime grew stronger. What once was passed over without a thought now demanded attention. The tiny 10-cent piece had become a treasure hunt, and still, new stories emerge. Every year, a fresh batch of hopefuls submit their finds for grading. Every month, another coin surfaces that defies expectation. And every day, millions of 1999 P dimes continue to change hands, unnoticed, their potential undetected. Some are spent on gum. Others are saved in piggy banks. A few rest in dusty drawers or under car seats. But somewhere, right now, someone holds in their hand a fortune they don't yet know they possess. That's the magic of numismatics. That's the thrill of the hunt, and as the world spins forward, that little dime, born in the twilight of the 20th century, keeps spinning too, carrying with it a whisper of history, a flash of artistry, and the possibility of incredible worth, because what if the next one is the one? The thrill wasn't just in the coin itself. It was in the chase. Collectors began forming online communities, digital campfires where tales were shared, advice exchanged, and photographs of brilliant dimes passed around like treasure maps. Some swore by roll hunting, buying boxes of dimes from banks and combing through thousands of coins by hand, their eyes adjusting to the gleam of copper-nickel under fluorescent lights. Others hunted estate sales, yard sales, and flea markets, hoping that among the detritus of lives once lived, a forgotten coin might glint in just the right way. One of the most intriguing stories to emerge came from a modest numismatist in Iowa, who stumbled across a sealed roll of 1999 P dimes in a dusty tin tucked away in his late uncle's attic. The roll had never been opened, its original paper still intact, slightly yellowed with time. Curiosity overcame him, and with delicate fingers, he peeled back the wrapper. What he found inside stunned him. Coin after coin appeared flawless, untouched by the wear of circulation. Every edge crisp, every strike sharp. And in the middle of the roll sat one that glowed just a bit brighter. He sent it off for grading. Weeks later, the results came back, MS-69 with full bands. One of the highest known grades for that year. The coin sold at auction for more than he had ever imagined. It paid off his student loans. It rewrote his future, but not every 1999 P dime fetches a fortune. Some are deceptive. Brilliant at first glance, but under the harsh eye of a grader's loupe, small flaws, tiny nicks, faint abrasions, slightly weak strikes, keep them from ascending into the numismatic stratosphere. It was a game of millimeters. Of surface tension. Of molecular perfection. And for many collectors, that was the allure. The idea that perfection could be found in the smallest of things, in something the rest of the world considered valueless. 10 cents. A whisper in the economy. A flicker of currency. Yet under the right circumstances, it could be everything. For some, the 1999 Roosevelt Dime became a symbol. A symbol of how overlooked potential could become legendary. How something so tiny, so mundane, could carry an entire narrative of craftsmanship, rarity, and fortune. And it wasn't just the coin itself, it was the process. The learning. The growing ability to spot a slightly off-centered strike, to identify a doubled inscription, to recognize the subtle difference between a strong and weak torch strike. It was a mastery of detail. A discipline of attention. Collectors who once ignored the Roosevelt series began to circle back. It began like most others, minted by the millions, carried in pockets, used for parking meters, grocery carts, and forgotten tips. A dime, small and ordinary. Insignificant to most. But the 2018 Roosevelt dime was never just another coin. It was a silent testament to the precision of modern minting, a canvas for the legacy of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and a symbol of how value is never always about face, but about story, rarity, and the secrets hidden in plain sight. That in 2018, America was caught in a whirlwind of change. Politics shifted, the economy surged and stalled, and technology pulled people forward faster than ever. But beneath the roar of headlines, in a vast, high-security facility in Philadelphia, the presses thundered on, relentless, steady, exact. The Philadelphia Mint, the oldest of its kind in the United States, was not just a place where money was made. It was where legacies were struck, one die at a time. That year, the Roosevelt dime was still in full production, unchanged in design since 1946. That was the year Roosevelt died, and the nation, grieving and grateful, immortalized his face on the 10-cent piece. The design, created by John R. Sinek, had lasted decades with only the lightest touch of modernization. In 2018, his left-facing profile still stood proud on the obverse, etched with the word "liberty" to his left, and the powerful phrase, "In God we trust," nestled just beneath. To the right, the year, crisp and clear, 2018. And just near the neckline, a small yet significant letter, P, the mark of the Philadelphia Mint. The reverse was equally unassuming but deeply symbolic. A central torch flanked by an olive branch on the left and an oak branch on the right, liberty, peace, and strength. Together they formed a triad of values, old and eternal, bound by the words "United States of America" above, and "one dime" below. E pluribus unum, etched across the branches, whispered of unity, a quiet promise embedded in metal. Over 1.3 billion of these dimes were produced that year in Philadelphia alone. Just a dime. And yet, within that sea of commonality, anomalies flickered like stars, rare strikes, misalignments, mirror-like surfaces unmarred by circulation. In a billion coins, even the smallest imperfection or unusual clarity becomes extraordinary. And when collectors found it, they knew what they had. For some, the journey began by accident. A man in Colorado, sorting his change on a kitchen counter, noticed a 2018 dime that gleamed just a little more brightly than the rest. Under a loupe, the details popped, the torch bands fully struck, the luster radiant, the fields nearly flawless. He sent it for grading. Weeks later, the result stunned him, MS-69 with full torch designation. That dime would later sell for over $1,000, 10,000 times its face value. And it had been sitting quietly in a handful of coins, passed over like any other. Others were more deliberate. Roll hunters, the quiet obsessives who buy bank rolls by the box, unwrapping hundreds of coins by night, eyes trained for the subtlest variations. They speak in a language of die clashes, off-centers, full bands, strike doubling. To them, the 2018 P-dime was a riddle, easy to find, hard to master. For although the mintage was high, perfect specimens were elusive. Contact marks, weak strikes, and machine doubling often degraded even the cleanest coins. To find one that checked every box, lustrous, centered, full details, with not a scratch, was like finding a whisper in a hurricane, and then came the errors. For in any minting process, especially at such volume, mistakes happen. A few 2018 P-dimes emerged with rare planchet flaws, lamination peels that exposed copper beneath the clad surface. Others showed die breaks, where tiny raised lines crossed the face or reverse like veins. Most intriguing were the rare double die reverses, where E pluribus unum showed a faint yet unmistakable doubling, as if echoing its message more than once. The coin forums lit up. Graders began cataloging new varieties. Some error coins, depending on their severity and clarity, fetched hundreds, even thousands. But even among regular dimes, the MS-68 and MS-69 specimens with full torch designations stood apart. Only a handful reached those grades. The full torch, or full bands, designation refers to the complete and separate lines across the bands of the torch on the reverse. It is a sign of a full, strong strike, something the Philadelphia Mint didn't always guarantee. And that made the few perfect ones all the more valuable. Collectors began chasing these variants. Some bought sealed mint sets hoping for fresh, untouched examples. Others dug through circulation, coin by coin. A few turned to auctions, their bids climbing higher with each passing year. The 2018 P-dime wasn't made of silver, wasn't rare by mintage, but it was becoming rare in quality. And that's what mattered. In a numismatic market that often values age and metal content, the Roosevelt series had long been the underdog. But that was changing. The coin community was evolving. More modern coins were gaining respect, especially when they exhibited high-grade survival and notable strikes. And the 2018 P-dime was emblematic of this shift, a coin from our own time, yet holding its own in cases next to Buffalo nickels and Morgan dollars. Part of the appeal was its accessibility. Anyone, anywhere, could find one. It didn't require a fortune to start collecting. All it took was a sharp eye, a bit of patience, and the understanding that even the smallest coin might carry a hidden story. As the years went on, the 2018 P-dime only gained more attention. Prices fluctuated, stories surfaced, and new discoveries were made. Some collectors even found transitional planchets, coins struck on blanks intended for foreign denominations, creating mismatched weights and metal compositions. These were freak occurrences, nearly impossible, yet they happened. And when they did, the numismatic world took notice. The Philadelphia Mint itself never commented on the rarities. Their job was production, efficiency, consistency. But perhaps somewhere deep within, a press operator remembered a day when a machine faltered, a strike came heavier than normal, or a planchet slipped in from the wrong batch. These moments, inconsequential at the time, would echo years later in the hands of a collector, who would hold the coin up to the light and realize it wasn't ordinary after all. The story of the 2018 P-dime is more than just metal. It's about awareness. It's about how modern coins can still be full of wonder, how something printed by the billion can hold a secret known only to a few. It's about how change, both literal and metaphorical, can shape a future, and that future is still unfolding. Every month, new examples appear online, graded and regraded, studied and debated. Auctions reveal fresh record highs. Collectors whisper about an elusive MS-70 still waiting to be found. It might be sitting in a mint set in a drawer. It might be out there in circulation, in a cashier's drawer, under a soda machine, in a child's piggy bank, because that's the thing about coins, they travel. And with every hand they pass through, they carry not just commerce, but possibility, and one day, someone will look down at a 2018 P. Roosevelt dime and notice something different. A glow, a crispness, a whisper of rarity. And in that moment, everything will change. Because that coin, once worth 10 cents, might be worth thousands. And all because someone finally looked a little closer, some say the thrill of the hunt is more addictive than the treasure itself. That's especially true for coin collectors, their hearts beating faster not in auction rooms, but under dim desk lamps with magnifiers, lint-free gloves, and uncirculated rolls spread across their kitchen tables. They are the quiet historians of our time, storytellers through metal, detectives of the minting past. And in 2018, their sights were fixed more than ever on the Roosevelt Dime, particularly the elusive gems bearing the P mint mark. What made this coin so intriguing wasn't a grand design change or a celebratory issue, it was subtlety. In a world obsessed with big and bold, the 2018 P dime dared to whisper. It said, "Look closer." And those who listened found a universe of intricacies, strike variations, surface anomalies, full torch band details so perfect they almost shimmered under the loupe like the ridges of a freshly sharpened blade. Collectors knew what to look for. A brilliant, mirror-like field, untouched by bag marks. Raised devices standing tall from the surface, especially in Roosevelt's hair and the torch's central flame. The vertical lines of the torch's column had to be strong, unbroken. The horizontal bands, top and bottom, had to be fully struck, distinct, and separated. No bridging. No flatness. Just crisp, intentional design, as if the mint itself had slowed time for that one strike. When all of that came together in one specimen, it wasn't just a dime. It was a masterpiece. And it was rare. As the internet fed this quiet obsession, new stories began to surface, some comical, some astonishing. In Pennsylvania, a schoolteacher purchased a roll of dimes for a classroom coin-counting lesson. At the end of the day, she found a particularly lustrous one still resting on her desk. She didn't think much of it until months later when she read an article about the full torch designation. Curious, she retrieved the coin from her junk drawer and brought it to a local dealer. The verdict? MS-68 with full torch, valued at nearly $800. Her ordinary school day had accidentally unearthed a numismatic marvel. In Arizona, a gas station cashier developed a peculiar habit. Every shift, she sorted through the register's dimes during quiet hours, setting aside anything from 2018. By year's end, she had built a small hoard of them, over 400 in total.